You are an Iron Man!
Today I'm joined by Timothy Shiels.
I love that I'm getting my full title. I normally only get my full title when I'm in trouble.
You're not in any trouble now.
Yet.
Well, we'll see how this pans out.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Absolutely delighted to have you with me today, Tim, and really looking forward to a chat. You and I are still kind of getting to know each other.
Romance is blossoming?
The bromance is blossoming indeed. And I last had a chat with you at just before the Omaha Half Marathon, and I had listened to the podcast that you were involved with the Northern Ireland running.
Yes, with Shane Benzie,
and it was a very, very informative. I really, really enjoyed that, and I guess that's why I thought that you would be a good person to invite and share your experiences and your knowledge with regards to running.
Professional slabber.
A professional slabber. Well, there's two of us now.
Yes, we're in good company.
So let's hope we don't slabber on too much. You're shaking your head. Timothy, if you want to just let me know kind of what you're up to with your training and where you're at currently. What's in the pipeline?
Gosh, I'm not sure what is in the pipeline. I'm still testing the water on those things. I could tell you what my coach would like me to do.
Okay.
And so I'm coached by a wonderful man by the name of Malcolm McCausland. Mm-hmm. He's a dairyman. For those of you who are not from Derry, please don't hold it against us, because I'm from Derry as well. And Malcolm and I have known each other since I was an infant.
Okay.
We worked together for a number of years, and I was hugely successful. Basically, when Malcolm was coaching me, I was invincible. And then when my wife and I relocated to Omagh, when we took over Omagh Community Church, I received an invitation to become the coach at Omagh Harriers. Mm-hmm. And so I put my own athleticism on the back burner, and I stopped being coached by Malcolm, and I became the coach of the Harriers. And so I didn't really do anything. And then about 6 months ago, my relationship with the Harriers came to an end, and it created the opportunity for me to pick up the phone and ask Malcolm if I could come home.
Okay.
And so Malcolm and I have been working together for the last couple of months now, and he would like me to go to the World Championships in Gothenburg.
Okay.
In the summer, in August. I'm not so sure whether I'm ready for that emotionally, but we'll see. But since Malcolm and I have started working together again, I've broke the Northern Ireland record for the M45 400 metres.
Brilliant.
And expectant and hopeful that there's a couple of more records and titles in me. Brilliant. So that's kind of where I'm at. So at the moment I'm chipping away, training well, good. Enjoying training, believing for something special to come in the not too distant future, whether that's as an M45 or an M50, because I'm on the brink of both of those categories at the moment. I'm 50 next year, but I still feel like I've got the potential to do something great, even as an M45, and certainly coming into the M50 category, if I continue to develop as an athlete in the way that I'm progressing and developing. Then I'm excited, Malcolm is excited, but I'm hesitant to commit to too much at the moment, because I'm really enjoying training, I'm enjoying being coached, and I'm enjoying not having to carry the full weight of the responsibility of my progression.
Yes, I get you.
Because I coach a lot of athletes, and I understand that dynamic of being responsible for their athletic development, and having someone who's responsible for my athletic development, and I don't have to think about it, I just have to turn up, takes a lot of the pressure off.
Yes.
And if I do what he says, then I expect to achieve the success that he promises.
And it must be quite, what's the word? You must be feeling pretty good if you're there or thereabouts in the M45 category with maybe 1 year left in it. So you are competing against men who are 3 or 4 years younger. And on paper you would think that, if they're younger they must be stronger and they could be faster. So if you're able to carry that success level from the M45 into the M50, it must give you a sense of confidence with regards to the immediate future, or have I got that wrong?
No, you're right in many ways. I think on paper, and I'm hesitant to use this type of language very often because I'm always afraid that I'll sound arrogant. But at the same time, as athletes, we have to believe in our own potential and our own ability. And if we don't believe that we can achieve the things that we're setting out to achieve, then realistically we're not going to get out of the starting blocks. And so on paper, on any given day, I have the potential to be one of, if not the best track runners for my age in the world. And I've been to a couple of world championships. I've had limited success. I've not had the success that I believe that I could have had for one reason or another, and maybe we'll get into that a little bit later on in the conversation. But I genuinely, I believe that if all my ducks are lined up and in a row, then it's going to take a very, very, very good athlete to beat me on my day. And so I kind of carry that confidence with me. I was, as a junior athlete, as a child, I was reasonably successful, coming into Masters Athletics at the age of 39. In my first race as a Masters athlete, and actually with Malcolm coaching me, I became Irish champion. My second race as a Masters athlete was at world level. And so I kind of just have fallen into it, and I've achieved levels of success. And I really don't even think that Malcolm and I have actually scratched the surface of what could be in the future.
And I don't think that comes across in any way as arrogant. I think that's realistic. And I think that it is a reflection of your ability and your strength and your talent that can't be denied. When you lined up as a Masters athlete at 39, having maybe not been at that level for a period of time for whatever reason, lo and behold, you came out on top. So it's not like you're arrogant, it's because you've been there, done that, and you've worn the t-shirt as well, haven't you, the international t-shirt? I
have. I mean, I've had the incredible opportunity to put on an Ireland vest on countless occasions. I've been part of a record-breaking relay team in 2018 in Madrid. In 4x2 we broke an Irish record. I have a couple of other individual records. I have been to a couple of World Championships, a couple of European Championships, and what an honour, to go and represent my country. But probably the most joyful experience out of all of them was when we broke the Irish record in Madrid, which was just brilliant because it wasn't just me. I was part of something. I wasn't just running for my country, I was running for my teammates as a group, and honoured and privileged to have that opportunity, and honoured and privileged to be gifted in such a way that I get to do these things. I've travelled the world. I have seen some of the most beautiful cities because of running, and I suppose in many ways I've often underestimated the things that running can bring into our lives. You know, I've been to Australia because of running. I've been to Africa because of running. I've been to different European destinations because of running. I potentially will be back in like Gothenburg this summer if I decide that I'm going to hit the start button on that. Gothenburg is one of the most beautiful cities in the world, and I get to go there not only to see it but to represent my country and to do something that essentially I really enjoy, and that in the best possible sense, again without sounding arrogant, that I'm good at. And so when you align all of those things up and align those things, it's like, you know, sometimes I have to pinch myself. And I want to say this, that there have been times when I've absolutely hated running, and running has actually, although it's brought some of the most joyous moments in my life, it has probably been the catalyst to some of the most darkest moments in my life as well. But the thing that has been a constant for me, right from my being a child, right up to my adulthood as a father, the thing that has been the constant, albeit I was away from athletics for almost 25 years, but it's been a common theme from beginning to, not that my life has ended, but to where we are now beginning to end. Yeah. It has been the overarching theme in my life.
It's an amazing story, and it's lovely to be able to be in the same room as you and see your eyes lighten up and the smile on your face as you're retelling those tales and recounting those memories, and you can see you reliving them as you, on your facial expression. And it's the term that was jumping out of my mind at the time was, this guy's living the dream. And it's a remarkable achievement, and it's a remarkable story. You did say there that running had a dark element to it. Are you able to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I think it's important that we talk about these things. It's probably going to be a long-winded answer because it's so multi-faceted in the dimensions that are all connected and related to it. So everyone runs for a reason.
Yeah.
I think it's important that we acknowledge that everyone has their own why. And so my why for most of my life was to seek approval from a dysfunctional relationship with my dad. So my dad was a coach when I was a child, and so I've always been exposed to athletics and always been around athletics. My dad has always had his own emotional brokenness and pain and dysfunction and inner torment. He's transgender. He didn't announce to the world that he was transgender until he turned 60.
Okay.
And then transitioned from male to female and now lives full-time as a woman, has had full gender realignment surgery, and that's how he chooses to present himself to the world now. But growing up, while he was trying to understand all of those things, I was in the world, and whilst he was trying to unpack all of those things for himself, I was brought into that, and so we had a broken relationship. I'm not going to deny the fact that I've always been loved, I've always been, seen and heard and all of those things, but how I understood certain things that were happening in my life as a child and then equated it to other things that weren't happening in my life, I had mixed signals and I developed my own brokenness. And one of the things that I used to get my dad's attention when I felt like I wasn't getting it, or one of the things that I used to allow me to feel loved in moments when I didn't feel loved with my dad, was to excel in athletics. Every time that I got a gold medal, I got recognition, I got the hug that I wanted, or I got the gift that I desired. I got the attention that I longed for. And so I equated success and love together. And with my dad, if I wasn't successful, I didn't feel seen. I didn't feel heard. I didn't feel recognised. I didn't feel loved. I didn't feel wanted. And so I had a warped sense of success and failure, and an unrealistic view of failure and what that meant for me and my life. And so I was terrified to fail. And I had never experienced failure in a way that it impacted me so deeply, because any time in the past that I would have been exposed to a choice between success and failure, I would have withdrawn and chosen neither. I just wouldn't have tried. I wouldn't have turned up. I would have disappeared. And I actually checked out from the world for almost 20 years. I became a hopeless drug addict, using copious amounts of drugs, living in Dublin, sleeping rough, doing all of the types of things that you would expect someone who's living that lifestyle to do. So I actually just checked out from the world because I was afraid of failing. I was so afraid that I disappeared. And so as I began to get a little bit healthier and come back into living in the world with a wife and children and different things, I went back into athletics at 39. And I had success immediately. So I was like, phew, okay, this is good. And that feeling of recognition and stuff, it instantly returned in the way that it had from a child. My inner child was still controlling me.
Yes.
And my inner child was still the force that was driving my perception of success and failure. And so, round the world for a shortcut to say that in 2016, I went to Australia, to Perth, to represent Ireland in the 800 metres. I felt at that moment I was in the best shape of my life. I was running some of the quickest times in the world that year. And when I looked at the entry lists for the race, on paper there wasn't anyone there who could beat me. So as far as I was concerned, I was a shoo-in for the gold medal. The idea of me not coming home with the gold medal I wasn't even thinking about it. I wasn't going to fail. I don't fail. I'm success. And I know I can beat all of these people. And yet when I got to the final, I didn't win it. And I didn't come second. And I didn't come third. I came home empty-handed. I came fourth. I was 11/100ths of a second away from the bronze and less than a second away from the gold medal. But the smallest of margin made the biggest of difference in my life. Because as soon as I didn't win, I instantly felt failure. And all of that broken emotion of the stuff that I experienced as a child came back to me as an adult, 42, 43 years of age. And I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't have the tools, I didn't have the language, I didn't have the support network, because I didn't allow myself to have the support network, because I didn't think that I needed it. Because my life was thriving. My wife and I were leading a vibrant church in Oma. Our children are doing really well. We're in love. You know, we're people of faith, and our lives are looking great and wonderful. And then all of a sudden, I'm hit with this curveball where I'm like, what's going on here? I don't know how to process this. And it led me on a journey of turmoil where in December 2019 I went to a bridge in Derry to try to kill myself, because I thought that the world would be a better place without me. And so that sense of failure that I experienced in 2016, which is something that I had carried with me all of my life, but for a large portion of it, I didn't even know that it was there because it was lying dormant. And then when I was exposed to a situation that triggered the trauma, I didn't have the resources to deal with the trauma, and I went on this journey where I was searching for success everywhere. academically, in work and career and all of these things. And I burnt out to the point where I thought that my wife would be better off without me, that my children would be better off without me, that my church would be better off without me, and that the world would be a better place without me in it, because who needs the failure, Tim Shiels? And so what had brought me so much success actually was the catalyst to bringing me so much pain. And I didn't run for 8 years. Mm-hmm. And obviously December 2019 was another catalyst to bringing me to a point and place where actually I didn't jump and I didn't kill myself, and I got the help that I needed and put the support structures in place, the accountability structures in place, the conversations that needed to take place took place. And then as the world came out of lockdown again, I made a sentence for the year that to come. This year I want to be a fitter, faster, stronger, healthier, happier version of myself. And so as I began to have vision for the future, and as I began to think about the future again, I thought, well, what does it mean for me to become a fitter, faster, healthier, happier, stronger version of myself? And what are the things that I need to do in order for those things to happen? And at that point, I hadn't exercised in years. So I was feeling very unhealthy, lethargic. I was 4 stone heavier than I am now. And I just thought, I need to start moving again. Mm-hmm. So I went for a run. Then I went for another one. Then I went for another one, and then I went for another one. And I would get to the point in the place where I would train for a month, and then I would lose motivation. And then I'd be like, and then might not do anything for 6 weeks. And then I would go again. And I kind of had this stop-start relationship with athletics. And I had no consistency. And part of the reason for that is that I was bringing the mindset of Tim, the world beater, into Tim, who was essentially just starting to get fit again. And I think sometimes, certainly for myself, and I know for a lot of the athletes that I coach, that if they have a period where they've had to take an elongated break, they have these expectations that they'll be able to perform in the way that they performed before they took the break. Yeah. And that's completely unrealistic. And I've had to learn that. Is that I can't be the athlete that I was 6 years ago. I can't be the athlete that I was 6 months ago. Realistically, I can't even be the athlete that I was 3 months ago. I can only be the athlete that I am today. And I can bring the best version of myself today, and whatever that is, then I've got to accept that and be happy with it.
I recently heard a thing on the internet which you'll probably relate to just off the back of that, was that you should train to where you are now, not where you used to be and not where you want to be, but where you are right now.
Absolutely. We underestimate the significance of the power of now. Because all we have is now, and now. All we have is this moment. The moments that have gone, we don't have them. And the moments that are yet to come, they have yet to come, so we don't have them. So all I can do right now in this moment is bring the best version of me. Mm-hmm. Whatever that is in this moment, forgetting about what has been and what is to come. Who am I right now? What have I got to give to the world right now in this moment? And I'm going to give that to the world. And if I do that to the best of my ability in every moment, then essentially the future takes care of itself. And if the future is taking care of itself, when we get to the future, the past is already taken care of itself. And so therefore, if we own now and live in the power of now and have that mindset of mindfulness where I'm going to focus on what is relevant right now, then everything else takes care of itself.
It's very, very important to live in the moment. And if people have the headspace to be able to practice mindfulness, then that should be encouraged. It's something that sounds so easy, but it's incredibly difficult, particularly if you've had to have overcome such huge hurdles like you have had to deal with in your past. And I think it's probably worth just touching on that for anybody that is struggling with their mental health. And I want to try and just take you back to the child, Tim, and just kind of unpick that a wee bit with your permission, if you're okay with it, and if you're not, please tell me. Well, one of the things that happens when we're children is that we can misinterpret who we think we are, because we don't have a template. We don't have the structure. We don't have the life skills or the experience to make sense of the world around us. We kind of live in the moment as children, and if there's uncertainty and instability and things that make us feel afraid or present a threat to us or make us feel sad or unloved, then those are the feelings. It's the impact of that we then interpret as to who we think we are. So if as children we have spent time afraid or alone or unloved or anxious, then that's the kind of person that we believe we are. If we find it very, very, very difficult to separate feelings from our identity whenever we're children. And so I wanted to ask you if you have had an opportunity as an adult to give yourself permission to understand that what happened to you wasn't your fault and that you had no control over it as a child, but the impact of it was significant, so that you're able to then understand that because it wasn't your fault, it's okay for you not to be as hard on yourself as you have been. And it's a very, very powerful thing to understand that whenever things have happened to you through no fault of your own, but that have lasted and had such an impact, that, oh my God, it wasn't because of me. It's not because I'm worthless. It's not because I'm unlovable. It's not because I'm unsuccessful or that I'm ugly or that I'm a pain in the ass or that I'm in the way or any of those things. It's because the people around me and the environments that I've been exposed to haven't given me what I needed. And with emotional neglect, it's such a difficult one, isn't it? In terms of trying to install that sense of love for oneself, if it hasn't been installed into you from your parents. But it wasn't your fault. It's none of our fault. But it's just worth. That's my tuppence worth on that. If any of that resonates with you,
I think it's important for all of us to recognise that our parents are the product of their parents, who are the product of their parents, who are the product of their parents. And most of the behavioural traits that my parents exhibited to me as a child were rooted in how they were treated when they were children, which was rooted in how their parents were treated as they were children. And so, I say this with the greatest of respect to my grandparents, but both of my grandfathers were alcoholics who had stopped drinking but hadn't addressed the challenges around their behaviour, which obviously then would have impacted their children. So on my mum's side, her brother Pierce was a street drinker and died drinking on the streets. On my father's side, there's a list of and so all of the behaviours that we exhibit in many ways are a product of what they've experienced, which is a product of the generation before. And actually, one of the things that has really helped me is this recognition and understanding that I'm a product of stuff that happened 100 years ago.
Yeah, there's an
and none of it is my fault. But
yeah.
what I do have is the power to change that.
Yes.
And so identifying toxic traits, identifying emotional baggage, identifying brokenness, and identifying core beliefs, because we all have them, and they're formed when we're children. Most of the core beliefs that we have are formed when we're children. And I suppose having the opportunity to inhabit places and spaces that have allowed me to wrestle with that stuff, and journey that stuff, and process that stuff, and actually ask myself, what do I actually believe about those things, and what is true and what isn't true? And coming to that place where I know that my children are impacted by my behaviour from before I went on the journey of becoming as healthy as I am now. And we can all be healthier, so I'm not claiming to be healthy, but I am healthier.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also acutely aware of the fact that my children are and have been impacted by my parents' impact on me, my grandparents' impact on me, their impact. But we don't have to allow that to be the cycle that continues. And we can break that cycle. And so we're working really hard as the Shiels family to look at those cycles and say, how do we change those? Like the language we use around like money, for example, is directly rooted in the language that I've heard from my parents and how they've heard from their parents. And, you know, growing up in Northern Ireland, particularly in the Troubles, in social housing, money was an issue. Mm-hmm. And so the language that we have around that type of thing actually is really unhealthy in many ways. When we look at relationships, you know, the language that we have around those things more often than not is unhealthy. And I say this a lot. We can't underestimate the impact of what it was like for the generations coming before us, and even for us, because we're in our late 40s, the impact that the Troubles had on us growing up in Northern Ireland, and how we all have post-traumatic stress disorder. There's levels to it. Some experience it more than others. Some are more broken than others. Like, for example, my mum was a nurse in A&E during the 70s and the 80s. So she saw, she lived in a war zone, quite literally for her job. And so she's got post-traumatic stress disorder associated and related to that. You know, my dad grew up in social housing in Craigan, the Craigan, as people call it, outside of Derry, and Derry is called Craigan, but everyone else calls it the Craigan. Mm-hmm. You know, in social housing, and saw people blown up, and, you know, people shot, and, you know, all of the things associated with the Troubles that, you know, are very well documented. But that has an impact. And so we are products of that environment as well. And I think the beautiful thing about living in Northern Ireland now is that our children don't have to experience that. And whilst there's a legacy of PTSD, it's thinning out.
It is.
And that's a beautiful thing. And so my children's perception of Northern Ireland is completely different to my perception of Northern Ireland. And my perception of Northern Ireland is completely different to my parents' perception of Northern Ireland. And so on and so forth. And so we are living in times and days and seasons where we can reflect on what was, and we can accept what was. But I love to say that acceptance doesn't have to mean approval.
Absolutely.
And so we can accept things happened. That doesn't mean we have to approve of them or like them or say that it was okay. We just have to accept that it happened and leave it where it belongs. What can I do about it now today? Okay, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to continue to walk in the fruits of that healthier mindset. Those healthier choices. Understanding that everything that I do today determines what will happen tomorrow.
if we think about our emotional health in a way that many people will be able to relate to as drinking, for example, we are shaking off the hangover from the emotional voids of our previous generations. If we think back to our grandparents living in Northern Ireland under that veil of threat and constant instability and unknown, there wouldn't have been any room really for emotional expression, certainly with regards to positive emotional expression, because the times that they were in weren't conducive. It wasn't. It was a very, very difficult place to feel free and to feel that you could express yourself and to go out and skip around as if everything was rosy in the world.
Yeah, because you couldn't.
Well, there was a huge dark cloud that surrounded them, and a constant threat. And at that time as well, it was all about putting bread on the table. And like you, and I suspect that many of the listeners will be able to relate to this. When I look back on my childhood, I don't think I can recall anything particularly traumatic happening to me. But it was probably the subtle things that maybe didn't happen, like that closeness, that emotional, those emotional discussions. When it was more about getting a good job, getting plenty of food, making sure you were well clothed, making sure you went to school, making sure you got your hair combed, all those things. But the wee bit that was missing was the bit that was never installed in our parents in the first place. And that's what we're able to do now with our kids. We're able to understand that was then and this is now. Mm-hmm. And whilst you refer to it as thinning out, and that's a lovely way of describing it, because the more people that understand that we are the filter. It's you and I. Mm-hmm. It's the 40-somethings, the 30-somethings, the 50-somethings that are the filter between what was and what is to come. Yeah. And if we're able to give and send the messages to our children that they are something and that they are loved, mm-hmm. then they shouldn't have to experience those lows in the way that you and I may have had to experience them. Yeah. You know, and to grow up thinking, I am loved, I am worthy, I am Michael, mm-hmm. I am Timothy, you know, and feel comfortable and confident and okay with that. Yeah. And one of the things that I've had to do, not had to do, well, I do feel that I had to correct some of the things from the past, and because of that kind of emotional distance that we would have all grown up in, I made it a point of telling my children that I love them. So every night, whenever I'm tucking the boys into bed, I'll say, good night, God bless, I love you. Mm-hmm. And I'll give them a wee kiss on the forehead. And I'll do that with them for as long as I can before they get to an age and stage where they're going, leave me alone, Dad, will you? You know? I
think that there is a time, I've got adult children. Mm-hmm. And so there is a season when it's uncool.
It becomes uncool, yeah.
However,
two down and two
the good news is that if we persist, that it comes full circle. So I've got two 24-year-olds, mm-hmm. and with the 24-year-olds, it's come full circle. And so I still get to, like my daughter Shan, she manages Wombirds in Oma. Okay. And I can still walk, other coffee shops are available, but none as good as Wombirds. Shameless plug. I can, now today, and this is what I can walk into Wombirds, and when Shan sees me and I see her, we hug each other, we give each other a kiss, and we have that level of intimacy, mm-hmm. that no matter where we are, that there's that emotional but physical connection, and it's a really beautiful thing. And I think what is important in all of these things is this recognition that these things matter, but when they matter, they make a difference, And they don't just make a difference in one part of life, they make a difference in every part of life. And so if we apply that principle to our athleticism, if you have a child who knows they're loved, if you have a child who knows they're accepted, if you have a child who's not striving for approval, if it's a race and they go to the start line, they're not carrying that nervous energy of, oh, I have to win, otherwise I'm not going to be loved. Oh, if I do win, my daddy's going to love me more. Oh, if I don't win, I'm going to be a failure. And so all of these things actually feed in to every area of life. If we have got children who have been blessed with the capacity to be academic, when they are sitting down to take those exams or to write those essays or to create whatever it is that they're seeking to create as a pathway to the career that is the longing of their heart, then when they know that irregardless of the outcome, I'm going home to a dad that loves me, I'm going home to a mum that loves me, it automatically removes that tension. Or if you've got the child who just loves to draw and doesn't want to think about maths and doesn't want to think about English, and all they want to do is draw, when they know that they're safe and when they're loved and when their output isn't dependent on other people's input, and what they receive actually sets them up. It goes, you know what, I can do whatever I want. Positively. I'm not suggesting that they're going to go out and be bank robbers and think they're going to be loved. But you understand the principle.
Yes,
it filters.
There's freedom to dream and to understand that they can.
Yeah.
Because they're not caught up in those self-doubt or self-loathing or self-defeatist.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's been most significant for me in my athletic journey. Can we call ourselves middle-aged, or are we beyond that now, touching 50? Are we middle-aged?
We're definitely in the bracket.
Right, so as a middle-aged man, I've only learned that irregardless of whether I win a world championship or not, I'm loved. Mm-hmm. And I've been in some really dark places in the last, 8 years.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm still loved. My children love me more today than they did 8 years ago. They would have loved me to have won a world title, but realistically, they don't really care because they know Daddy loves them, right? Yeah?
Yeah.
So it's irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
And when we begin to understand these things for ourselves as adults, then we can begin to live our lives very differently, live our lives lighter. So I live my life so much lighter now than I did before. So it doesn't matter if I go to the World Championships or not. It really doesn't. If I go, I'll bring the best version of myself to the World Championships, and that'll be class. However, if I win or not, I'm still going home to a family that loves me, to a wife that on any given day thinks I'm alright. Someday she'll kick me in the shins, under the table for the comment, or like any good wife, you get the eyes rolled at you for your,
behind
your
every
super
good
humour,
man and all
right?
that.
Okay,
yeah.
But I've got a mum that thinks the world of me, a dad that thinks the world of me, and none of those things are dependent on me winning a gold medal at the World Championships. No. They're dependent on me being available. They're dependent on me being me, who's loving, generous, compassionate, kind, available, and those things are what matter. The reality of it is I think that so often for us, as whether we're a triathlete, an Ironman, a track runner, a marathon runner, an ultra runner, we allow those things to become our identity, and yet they're only a part of us. I used to think that, I'm a runner, and that's all, and actually, and if I don't be successful at running, then I'm a failure. And actually, there are so many things in my life that help shape who I am, that are so important. And running is one of those things. I will say this, I'm a better husband when I'm running. I really am. I'm a better father when I'm running. I'm a better son when I'm running. I'm a better pastor for the guys at Oma Community Church when I am running, and I would say this, is that outside of my faith in Jesus Christ, running is probably the most significant thing in my life. But it's not the most important, if that makes sense. But it's the one that brings the greatest amount of joy, but also makes me healthier emotionally and physically. And so when the head is good, everything else tends to work in harmony, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. You know, and that's one of the most powerful things about running. You know, and I would probably equate running, or whatever your bag is, whatever your exercise of choice is, as important as the old 5 a day. Mm-hmm. Let's make that 6 a day, because that sixth element should be exercise, because of the time that you get to spend by yourself. If you're a solo runner, and I do all my training by myself, with the exception of the club cycles and some club runs, but generally speaking on my own. Mm-hmm. And I just enjoy my own company. There would have been a time where I hated my own company, and I would have done anything just to get away from who I was and, follow that crew and play a caricature of who I thought I needed to be for the purposes of everyone else. But those days are gone, thankfully. And the freedom that you feel, and I love the way you described yourself as feeling lighter, because regardless of what has happened during that run, you're driving home, in my case, because I drive into the town, I'm driving home lighter. I feel lighter. Mm-hmm. I'm a different person having gone for the run, and it's just such a wonderful thing to be able to do, and it's so easy to do it, isn't it?
Going for running is the most accessible, outside of walking. For some people running is a stretch, but even just to go for a walk is the most accessible form of exercise that we have available to us. And if you live in somewhere like Tyrone, we are so blessed with even places that we can jump in our car to go for walks where we can enjoy the beauty and the wonder of what I believe is a created world. And when you look at the trees, you breathe in, you see the birds, you look at the sky, and all of those things just help us connect to something that is greater than ourselves. And that's really important as well, is that exercise has a function in our lives. It's the self-rewarding thing that it does. There's a lady, her surname is Suzuki, I can't remember her first name, and she has got a brilliant TED Talk, and she talks about the body's reward system given to us through exercise. Mm-hmm. And so within the brain, the serotonin that is released when we exercise makes us feel good. So we're rewarded when we exercise. I know that you're thinking, you're out of breath, you're sweating, you're like, right? Because that sometimes can be part of our exercise process. But the byproduct of that, in other words, the fruit that is produced from that, is actually a chemical that is released into your body that makes us feel good. And so not only can we be physically fitter, but we can be emotionally fitter through exercise as well. I have a friend, his name is Gary Rutherford, and he has a similar story to mine. He was a chronic alcoholic, and I actually brought him on a journey together, and he's just had the privilege of doing a TED Talk, and he talks about how running and the running community actually helped him walk through his addiction issues. And he set up a charity, it's called ARC, and ARC is a community where people are brought on a 6-week exercise journey when they're suffering from addiction challenges and issues. And it's a really beautiful thing, because he says what happens is that people start to feel good about themselves, because they're actually seeing that they can do things that they never believed that they could do before, which is then going on to have a knock-on effect, a domino effect in other areas of their lives, where their confidence is being boosted, where they're actually believing that they can achieve stuff, sobriety being one of them, but then the endorphins that are being released into their body is making them feel good whilst they're developing this confidence, and it's completely transforming their lives. And so they have like their success rate for people not relapsing is off the scale. I can't remember the exact figure. It's in the high 90s of people who come through their program who don't go into relapse. And so what happens is that they're brought into a community where they're not seen anymore through the lens of their addiction. They're seen through the lens of, oh, you lift weights, oh, you run, oh, you walk, oh, you cycle, oh, you do this, oh, you do that. And through this extended community, actually their lives begin to evolve and transform. But at the heart of it is exercise. So we can't underestimate the significance that these things have in our lives as we seek to be healthier.
That's, in my opinion, perfectly summed up. The idea that, and people will often be told and will be aware that there is this idea that if you're feeling low or you're feeling down or you're struggling, you need to go out for a walk, you need to go out and get some exercise. Well, if you just rewind this bit and listen to that, that's why. Mm-hmm. And I think that bit's probably missing, in terms of that message being communicated across the reasons why it's so important. And you've just, for me, you've hit all those things on the head just very, very simply and perfectly. So I want to thank you for that. And I'm sure there's loads of people who will take great comfort and good and inspiration from that. So thank you for that. Just moving forward, you're still doing a bit of coaching?
Yes.
Or are you? You're still in the coaching?
Coaching is one of those things that I think I'll always coach. Mm-hmm. I love being part of people's lives. And I suppose if I was to describe my desires in life, I'm always seeking opportunities to add value. And if I was to tell you what I believe my greatest gift is, it's to be a cheerleader. I love championing people. I love encouraging people. I love looking at people and saying, you can. And if I can help you, I will. And so coaching facilitates that for me. And so I get to work with people and bring them on a journey. Like everyone that I coached this year who ran the Omaha Half Marathon, the Holy Grail, mm-hmm. All PB'd.
Brilliant.
And so I don't say that as a glorifying moment.
So, Tim, looking towards the future and your coaching, you're still available, you're still doing coaching. What is it about coaching that floats your boat?
I love being able to go on journeys with people. So anyone that I coach, historically, when I'm given permission to do one-on-one coaching, now I'm not saying that everyone that I coach, I'm with them at the track all of the time, but I've identified that large group coaching doesn't really work for me. I like to be a little bit more intimate and intentional with the people that I'm working with. And anyone that I've ever had the opportunity to coach individually, they've actually become my friends. Like 2 of my best friends are now my best friends because I started coaching them. Mm-hmm. And we just were in communication with each other every day through running that evolved into us actually talking about the things that matter to us and matter in our lives. And I suppose that's the joy for me of coaching. I love going on a journey with people. So, for example, everyone that I coached this year to go to the Omaha Half Marathon, the Holy Grail in Tyrone, hit a PB.
Brilliant.
And that was fantastic that they all hit PBs. But what was more significant for me is the friendships that were birthed as a result of the journey that we went on. So I've already talked about how, when we look at our lives, running is something that is hugely important for us. But running is only part of our lives. And so when I'm coaching someone, I'm so interested in every area of their lives holistically that I'm not just interested in whether or not they can run a 10-minute mile or a 4-minute mile, a 12-minute mile, a 15-minute mile or a 6-minute mile. That's just part of them. And so when I'm coaching someone, I want to know who they are, not in a weird way, don't hear what I'm not saying. It's just a natural thing that happens organically through the coaching process. Because when we understand what a person's life is like and how their life is structured, we can begin to look at how running can complement those things.
Yes.
And I think that's really important, because running should add value to our lives. Athletics has the potential, or triathlon, or whatever it is that is your chosen sport. Like, these things should be there to add value and complement. You know, the reality of it is that, you know, none of us are full-time athletes. Unless you're retired and you have that luxury of being able to train like a full-time athlete. None of us are full-time athletes. Most of us have got careers, families, dogs, cats, you know, and all of those things. And so running is there to supplement those things. And so when I'm coaching people, anything that we do has to fit their lifestyle. We don't create a lifestyle to fit our running. We do it in a way that actually, you know, our lifestyles are there, and then running becomes part of that.
Yes.
And so that's why group coaching for me can be a challenge. I'm not anti-group coaching. I just feel like for me, with where I want to invest my time,
yes,
and where I feel like I can add the most value is actually journeying with people in a relationship. I'm not saying that everyone that I coach has to be my friend either, you know, but it just seems to be that that's an organic process that happens, because I like my athletes to be in communication with me every day. You know, how are you feeling? You know, because actually how we feel sometimes can determine what happens on the track. So if you're stressed and you haven't slept the night before, or if you're carrying a weight of stuff from family circumstances, you know, you're not going to bring your best self to the track, but you still should come to the track. But let's manage expectation. And so when you understand what's going on in the background, you can apply principles in the foreground that will still allow your athlete to thrive. And so very often when I'm coaching athletes, if they are carrying stress in their lives and they come to the track and they're like, oh, why am I not running as quick as I was last week, or why is this not happening? And I'm like, well, what's happening outside of the track that's influencing what's happening in the track? So let's realign our expectations to recognise that for 4 nights last week you only slept for 3 or 4 hours, so you're tired, so automatically that's going to impact your performance. You know, let's look at, oh, your children are sick, so you're carrying that stress. Oh, your spouse is sick. Oh, so you're carrying that. So that's going to impact your performance. It shouldn't deter us from training, but we should recognise that these things have a significant impact. Hydration, nutrition, you know, work-life balance, all of these things actually have a huge impact. So when I'm coaching people, I want to know these things. I want to be aware of these things. And then I suppose because I'm a pastor, there's a compassion in me that when I know stuff is going on, I feel compelled to make myself available as a listening ear, as a friend, and all of those things. And so when I'm coaching people, yes, we want them to hit targets, we want them to achieve athletic goals, but I'm interested in so much more about the person than just that thing. And so that means that I can only manage a certain number of people at any given time.
Yeah.
And I have to be careful about how I manage those expectations, you know, because it would be wonderful to be able to coach 50 people at a time. But realistically, with the level of investment that I'm prepared to give, not everyone wants this level of investment. What I'm saying is the level of investment that I'm prepared to give in order to do that to the best of my ability, I probably max out at 15 athletes in any given cycle.
Okay. And there's a certain openness and honesty and integrity with you, and that's coming across very loud and clear with regards to how you're communicating with me And I guess you harbour a sense of safety in the people that you coach. And I would suspect that they would feel okay talking to you and sharing some of those things, and feel that you're going to listen to them. And for me, that's probably, you're probably taking the coaching thing above and beyond what one would normally associate with a running coach. And I guess you're the opposite of the drill sergeant in Full Metal Jacket, aren't you? You're
anything but sometimes
very, very far removed from that.
And sometimes actually to the frustration of some of my athletes, because I'm hypersensitive and I'm overcautious, and I would rather get to a destination 2 days late than not get there at all. Yes. And so very often with some of our athletes and some of my athletes, and some might be prone to injury, and the reason that they're prone to injury is because they have got this desire to go all the time. But yet it's my job as a coach to get them to where they want to be. And sometimes that means putting the brakes on. And that can be really frustrating for some people. But this is the beauty of being privileged to coach, is that when people trust their coach, so when people come to me and they trust me with the responsibility of partnering with them to achieve their goals, I can't think of a greater privilege, because there's trust in that, and there's a relationship in that, and there's an invitation for me to be part of their life in a way that other people don't get to be part of their life. And so I don't underestimate that, and I don't underestimate the significance of that. And so in order for me to shape that well, I've got to bring my best self, and I've got to be the best version of myself. And so then the responsibility falls back on me. So I need to make sure that I'm running and sleeping, that I've got healthy boundaries, that I'm doing all of the things that I can do to be the best dad that I can be, the best husband that I can be, the best pastor that I can be, and the best coach that I can be. And so when all of those things are in line, then the kind of impact of that, the waves that are created as a result of that, feeds into all my athletes' PBing.
Yeah. And if someone or anybody is interested in getting in touch with you...
Probably terrified now after that.
I don't think so. I think you might actually be inundated with inquiries, but how would someone get in touch with you if they wanted to take you up or inquire about coaching?
Probably the best way. I mean, I have a page. It's irishrunners.com, where people can, read about the coaching services that are available. However, the best way, send me an email or give me a call. Find me on Facebook and send me a message. Yeah. Tim Shiels, and let's have a call and let's have a chat, because it's highly relational. Yeah. And so let's have a chat. Coffee is where these conversations best take place.
A Bob and Bert's.
And if you can get to Bob and Bert's in Oma, I will coach you.
Brilliant. Just finally, before you sign off, you've a book of your own out.
Yes.
Would you like to let people know how they can get their hands on that?
Yes. Again, you can buy it, or if you want a copy and you genuinely want to read it, don't buy it. Just let me know, and we can get you a copy over a coffee if you're in and around the Tyrone area. If you're outside of the Tyrone area, go at timshiels.com. TIMSHIELS.com. The book's called Imagine, and it's a outworking of my journey to becoming healthier and understanding my own identity and what that means and what I believe about certain things, and some preconceived misconceptions that I had about what certain things meant, and just a real outworking of my journey to becoming the healthier version that this bromance is blossoming in now.
Brilliant. Tim, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm sure there'll be loads of people that have taken great comfort and inspiration from our discussions today, and I look forward to bumping into you more often. And I just want to wish you all the very best. And we'll keep our ears and eyes open for the news as to whether or not the trip to Gothenburg will go ahead. But whatever lies ahead, I'm sure you'll meet that with gusto and enthusiasm. And just thanks again.
My pleasure, and thanks for having me.
Not a problem.
I feel like I'm number 10 on the list.
Number 10.
Oh, privilege. Thank you so much.
Take care.